Welcome to Breaking the Pattern, a podcast where we believe anything is possible for people when they put their minds to the task. Our mission is to help folks optimize their daily lives and reach their full potential by changing mindsets and creating small habits that have huge impacts. Our quest: help people break harmful patterns of the past and move forward with a new outlook and a new way. I am your host, Peyton Rose. I'm joined by my co-host, Cody Sheastel. Hello, Cody.
Hey Peyton, glad to be here.
Awesome, me as well. I'm really excited about this podcast because we get to visit with a list of people who really embody what our mission is about. I've spent the last 20 plus years of my life utilizing similar processes, and I've come across amazing authors, thought leaders, scientists, doctors, coaches, teachers, operators, all who have extensively explored these actions and topics that we've translated as pattern breakers.
On top of that, you've met a ton of amazing people along the way who we're bringing on to talk about how they've implemented these ideas in their work and in their lives to achieve amazing results. So the way we set this up, our first 7 episodes, we'll be reviewing books and authors who have introduced these ideas to the world. And this is where the magic is for me. We're not reinventing the wheel, and these life-changing ideas already exist.
Yeah, we've spent the last 4 years reading these books and researching these ideas, and we put them together for our listeners in a step-by-step format that is super easy to implement in your life, helping you to break your patterns.
Small changes, tiny actions taken each day over the course of time. It's mind-blowing what happens and how your life changes. You're going to accomplish goals that you never thought were possible if you truly take action on these ideas. Your friends and family will be like, what the heck are you doing? You get so much done.
Yeah, and this is where my fascination lies. I'm into getting things done. I'll come right out and say it. I think operators are people who have to get things done. I think operators are going to save the world.
So this first episode, Peyton, we're going to explore your personal path to finding all of these systems and ideas that helped you break your patterns. We're also going to give our listeners the first action they can take, which is arguably the most significant action they'll ever take in their lives.
Yeah, welcome to Breaking the Pattern. All right, Cody, I'm going to hand the set over to you and let you lead the conversation. Thanks for working with me on this, man.
Yeah, so I guess first off, at what age did you first travel?
So first time I traveled, I guess, was when I left home. I left the house at 15 years old to travel to a new school, new place. I was recruited to play basketball, and started my journey there. Once I got to Little Rock Central High is where I ended up going to school to play ball. We traveled all over the country, all over the United States, playing basketball for the next 3 years in different AAU tournaments and championships. And then I went off to school at Lake Forest College, just outside of Chicago. And when I got to Lake Forest, they had an unbelievable abroad program, several unbelievable abroad programs, in my opinion. And through the programs available there, I was able to travel to Greece and Turkey, North Africa, the Middle East, Europe, South Africa, Eastern Europe, probably 30 plus countries while in school.
Wow. That's a very rare for someone to travel that much. Like me personally, I've never left the United States. I'm around 24, and I feel like I've missed out on so much, especially just on the deep insight and the learning that you acquire from seeing all the different cultures and the different ways. I know just from traveling in the States, I've gotten that understanding from the few places that I've been, and I feel like I've been a few places even though I've never even been on the East Coast aside from Florida, and never on the West Coast. But anyway, what do you think are some deep insights that maybe people like me who've not traveled around internationally like that? Do you think there's something special, some kind of special insights that someone who travels to these different countries might get compared to your travels like in the States?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and even traveling in the States, to me, the first time I broke, well, I think I was breaking patterns very, very early on in life. I was just able to see some things that helped me kind of develop a mentality that wanted to explore life. And probably one of the most influential insights that I got from traveling was, and what I think is so important to starting to break patterns, is putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. There is nothing more uncomfortable than taking off, setting out on a trip, and not really knowing what's ahead of you. You've got a goal out there. Like everywhere I went, along my travels, I had a destination and a reason for that destination, but the journey to get to that destination was always filled with trials and tribulations, you know? So, one in particular instance, and this is one of many, I hitchhiked through the Middle East to get to Jordan, and was headed down to the south part of Jordan. So I hitchhiked up through, Israel, to the northern tip of Israel, and then down to the southern tip of Jordan. And you talk about extraordinarily uncomfortable. I had the experiences there where I was just failing all the time, every day. But lo and behold, I made it to the place I wanted to get to, which was Petra, Jordan. It was important. It's a very important place historically for what I was studying at the time. I was actually studying archaeology over there, and it was unbelievable the experience I had just getting to the top and then back down to the bottom. There's a ton of stories in between all of this, but what I can tell you is that forcing yourself to enter uncomfortable situations and doing that as often as possible is going to give you resilience. It's going to give you insight. It's going to give you wisdom that you would never have if you just stayed in that comfortable place. So that was kind of one of the first big steps for me in breaking the pattern, right? Was putting myself in uncomfortable situations as often as possible. I think it's really important that we all try to do that at some level every day. Try to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and see if you can overcome it.
One word that was on the tip of my tongue for most of what you were saying was like, it forces to put you in situations like where you feel uncomfortable, that force you to be courageous.
Yes.
It forces that courage instinct. Just like any muscle, you have to work it out. And if you hide and if you don't, get out, you just don't work that muscle out, and it just withers and dies.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would put it you nailed it right there. It is literally work. It's like a workout. It is a work. You're working out that part of your mind and that part of your spirit and that part of your consciousness to be able to endure unforeseen circumstances and unforeseen outcomes. Huge, absolutely huge. That's a great point there. Great point.
So to take this on a darker turn, I know a few years back that you had a pretty bad car wreck. I'm curious how you dealt with that blow to what I assume is your feeling of self-worth and, like your capabilities, what you could do and what you couldn't. And I noticed that you mentioned there were patterns that you were breaking before that, and I'm wondering how this affected your growth and how you deal with those setbacks too.
Yeah. So I was in a pretty terrible car accident about 5 years ago now. And yeah, we're coming up on 5 years. I was at when I was in that accident, I was at the peak of my physical condition. I was training like a marathoner. I had a really, really tough job that I love very much. So just to backpedal a little bit here, to backtrack a little bit, I'd been an operator in the field working in different industries for about the last 20 years. So I'd learned how to operate very, very well, and was, with running operations, you're going to get very physically fit if you're taking it really seriously. And so my life had been, operating for the last 20 years. I was running teams all over the United States. We were having a blast, and, we were all in really great physical shape. I get in this wreck, and I had to, it was a head-on collision, 120 mile an hour impact all the way around. Doctor was like, I don't know how you survived this. The only way you survived this was that you had gotten in such shape. So in some way I'd gotten in shape for this wreck, I believe. And so I had to, I had to relearn everything. One, I was fired from my job, and let go. I couldn't walk. I could hardly breathe. My lungs were collapsed. I'd nearly died twice, once in the wreck, well, 3 times, once in the wreck and during 2 surgeries, went septic twice in the hospital, came out of the hospital, could hardly walk, had to learn how to walk again. And so everything changed right there. We were really doing well at that time. And here all of a sudden I took a massive blow and had to start from scratch. And so here's the thing. One of the things, an insight that I'll give to that is, we often hear, and I think this is something that, ends up being the big story and the movie headliner, right, is that you have this incident in life, and it's a traumatic incident, and the person wakes up, they wake up enlightened, right? They wake up enlightened, and all of a sudden they see that, like, oh, my life has changed. I see things differently. I'm going to be, like, they go on this spiritual journey. And that is absolutely the opposite of what happened for me. Like I woke up and was, just like a 16th of the person I was before. I became extraordinarily depressed. I had no career. I had to start from scratch and figure out what I was going to do with my life. I had a child, a 10-month-old child, a wife, a house, bills. And none of that was stopping. Nobody. I couldn't call up the mortgage company and be like, "Hey, man, I just almost died." Actually, I did try. I tried to call them up and be like, "Hey, man, I almost died. Can you give me a couple months to figure it out?" And they're like, "Yeah, no, can't do that. Sorry."
You're like, yeah,
So
we've heard that one before, buddy. We've heard that one before.
Yeah. So the bills weren't going to stop. Nothing was going to stop. I had to figure it out. So, and on top of that, I went into a pretty deep depression. And started, I had to start from scratch. And what I learned, this is what I didn't do. I didn't give up. That's one thing that didn't happen. And that's probably the most important thing, I could, from that experience, and something I want to, try to help everybody to understand is don't give up. If you just keep going, you keep getting up every morning, putting on your clothes, putting one leg into one pant leg, get out there and get up and walk around. For me, it was just getting up and walking around for a long time, but not giving up, knowing that I just refused to die in this situation and refused to give up. I ended up, doing some extraordinary things. It took me quite a while. It took me, probably 6 months to get over the deep depression I was in, to move into a kind of a lighter depression. And from there, I just kept walking. I actually got a job, scored a sales job working for a Google affiliate, going door to door. I'd never done sales before in my life, going door to door and selling this Google product to businesses. And that, what I had to do was walk. I walked a lot. The doctor was like, "Man, the best thing for you right now is get out and walk." So I was walking all over. I was in Arkansas at the time. I was walking all over Arkansas, and that turned into walking all over Texas, and that turned into walking all over Tennessee, and then Missouri. So I ended up with teams underneath me because I kind of this is interestingly enough, and we'll probably get into this. This is where I first started to understand business, really, because I'd always been an operator and just working on the infrastructure of what goes on out in the field. I'd never really focused on how to kind of set up a successful business model. And this was the first time that, I really was just thrust into it. I didn't plan on it. If the wreck wouldn't have happened, I probably would still be an operator, and we probably wouldn't be breaking the pattern. And we definitely wouldn't be doing the things we're doing now. And what it was just really amazing was one foot after the other, picking, getting out there every single day and going and talking to business owners. And what allowed me for 2 years was to learn from business owners what the most important things, what mattered to them the most, what the most important things for their business to thrive. And I was able to go in and talk to these folks really candidly and really transparently and say, hey, you know, here's what I can help you with. What are the issues you're seeing? And spending 2 years going into every single door. I was doing 100 doors a week for 2 years. So imagine how many, you know, small business owners I've been able to talk with. Over 2 years, I was really able to get a very awesome insight on what was driving people, what were their fears, what were their concerns, and how could we help them. And so, you know, that was a long journey, a longer journey than most. Again, like you hear about the epiphanies people have in these, you know, traumatic instances, did not happen to me. I had to crawl out of the pit from like near-death experience, you know, on the way to the hospital to, you know, getting out of bed and going and finding a job and then excelling at that job. You know, I spent 3 years just getting after it, one foot after the other. A friend of mine recently said, you know, it's amazing, you know, what you can experience and what you can get into if you just put one foot in front of the other and keep walking. And
so kind of bouncing off that idea, one book that a very intelligent friend of mine suggested for me to read was called the 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. And
yes.
So this, when I read this rule, I felt like it was something that I already innately understood, but
Right.
I just hadn't labeled it with a term. And, you know, and the 5-second rule works extremely well. And for those who aren't familiar with it, it's basically, if there's something that you know you need to do, is to not give yourself any time to doubt. Like if you're absolutely like, and there's something innately that you don't even have to say words, and you know that in your heart, like that's something you have to do or whatever. Like it's just count down from 5, not to 5, and
Right.
you count down from 5 and then go and make some kind of physical movement, even to symbolize it, just about. And anyway, how you know, like the biggest rule, or the biggest point that the author makes is about the getting up out of the bed. You know, that if you're at that point, did you use that rule or something of that capacity? Because I think we've all been there, where, you know, you wake up in the morning, you're like hell, I just need to snooze.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Snooze. You know, even if it's just, if nothing else, even if it's just because you didn't get good sleep that night before, you know, or something. But so what kind of patterns did you have to, what did you have to, with intention, do at some point? You know, you said you were depressed for about 2 years, and then you brought yourself out of it. How does that
Right.
how does the patterns break, and what do you intentionally do for that?
Yeah, that's such an awesome question. So this is Mel Robbins' book, the 5-Second Rule, and you know, I think I suggest that everyone go out and get this book and read it. Mel was able to change her life with a simple 5-second, counting down from 5, and just starting her day. She was at a point in her life where I believe she was really depressed, and you read the book. I might butcher this a little bit, but she basically was laying there in a pretty bad place and just decided, I think she was watching like a commercial, like a NASA commercial, something, or watching something about rocket launch, and was like, you know what, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm going to get up. And she started doing this daily, and it changed her life. And she wrote a book about it. Absolutely, I've read this book. It is unbelievably powerful, and especially with such a simple idea. If you start implementing it, what you know, you try to do, especially with the 5-second rule, is you start somewhere. And for a lot of us, it's just getting out of bed, and then you start realizing that the 5-second rule applies all over the place. I mean, literally all over the place. And if you start applying it, things happen. So one of the things that worked with me, and then I was I hadn't discovered, this is actually, it's a great question you asked, because that process, what I was going through, trying to get healthy from that wreck and trying to get my life back on track, I started exploring all of these, I think we call them now self-help books. I think they're philosophy books for the now. Personally, I think it's just really easy to label something self-help. I think you're doing practical like a lot of these books that you and I are going to introduce in Breaking the Pattern, these are practical philosophies for living now. And when I started discovering these books, and I discovered Mel's book, and Mel's book was a little bit down the road, but at the time, I was doing those intentional practice. And this is what I think is so cool. So many of us are doing a lot of these, like a lot of the ideas that we're going to introduce, the introductory ideas we're going to bring forth. A lot of us are doing them kind of inherently on some scale, and putting things into a framework like Mel does with 5-second rule, like Carol Dweck does with mindset, like David Allen does with Get Things Done. There are systems out there that if you'll take portions of them that work for your life and work for you and implement them, they absolutely change the game. So while I was going through this, self-discovery and trying to figure out, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to start a new career, start a new life, essentially? I started reading and reading and reading, and read and still reading to this, never going to stop reading. It's one thing I'll say right now. Read, read, read. There's no excuse not to read. If you try to give me excuse why you're not reading, it's just going to go on deaf ears. So going in and exploring these different, what I think are practical philosophies for living, exploring them really, really helped me out. And I found Mindset by Carol Dweck. And I think that's one of the, a little teaser, that's going to be an action that we give that's that action we're talking about that we're going to give everybody, because it's, there's an extraordinary thing you can do. And if you'll do it, it's going to change your life 100%. That's what this whole thing's about, is changing your life one step at a time. And so, I went in, did a lot of self-exploration, I was doing these things inherently, and then I found these books and found these authors and found these thought leaders, and it helped me to put these actions into a framework with goals. And once I put these actions into a framework with goals, and I was able to take steps towards those goals using this framework, it all changed, man. And, you and I both have seen this right up front. It's unbelievable whenever you have a framework and you have goals. You have goals and a framework set around those goals, what you can accomplish. And so that was really, really amazing for me, was to find those books, find these authors at a time and place when I was really, really open to listening and trying out what they were talking about, and just going out there and doing it. And now here we are.
How do you negotiate with yourself to not take on too much, but to not sell yourself short?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And that's the challenge right there. I tell you, man, that is something that I think everybody, especially everybody who has ambitions to, do things, greater things than what they thought were possible, that's a challenge that we're going through every day. And one of the things that I've found for me was getting organized. And this is the thing, like when I'm saying that, like every day, you have to check me often. We're checking each other on these things. And I have to rely on a lot of people to check me on taking on too much. Especially, we're going to get into later on, like visionaries, operators, and managers, right? So those three different mindsets and how they all work. You and I both know that very well. So everybody out there, there's three types of people essentially when we're talking about in this framework that we speak of. And there's the operator, there's the visionary, the operator, and essentially the manager.
Depending on the trademark, you can have the synergist, or I'm sure there's a few other names out there too for it.
Yeah. There's a lot of people there, and they all boil down to three different personality types, all three of which exist in each one of us in some capacity, but each of us show, or each of us have a propensity to kind of move towards one personality more than the other. For me, I am a high visionary operator, so it's easy for me to take on more ideas or have more ideas than I can operate, right? So I have these really cool ideas. Oh, it'd be really cool if you did this. Oh, it'd be really cool if you did this. And then I have to step back and say, okay, you help me with this quite often. It's like, okay, what's our first step? What's our next first step? And having worked with a lot of visionaries, I see it all the time. And then the operator, the operating side of me, once I get into operations, I just want to do this one thing. I want to get this one thing done, and I can't see anything, outside of getting this one operation done, getting this one task done. And so I am constantly working on, and I think, to kind of answer your question, I've skirted around a little bit. Getting organized is it's been the biggest help for me. And that means going through and getting your day organized, your week organized, your month organized, and your year organized, right? Yeah. And so, and that was a big step. Big step was getting organized.
When we went through the with Alpha Wave, our business, when we went through like the 10-year picture, the 5-year picture, the 3-year picture, the 1 year, the all the way down to our 90-day rocks, that I feel like that can also be applied to, like, personally, like you could make your own, Peyton Incorporated, Cody Incorporated, and just think of it like that, almost. As, I think
absolutely right.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely just was a breakthrough. There's very few, what do you want to call it, milestones or breakthroughs, but that's definitely one that if you're not doing, you're holding yourself back every day. If you don't have some kind of list for you to go and for you to judge yourself on, to look at, and it's like, son of a bitch, did I only, do one thing today? Like, or, I should have, and it's like, but you got to moderate that. If you're hard on yourself every day and that becomes your habit like that,
right.
That I think that's a negative pattern. You just got to moderate that.
Yeah. And not to cut you off there, but just to add on to that, we go back to Carol Dweck's mindset, to the growth mentality versus the fixed mentality. And once you start taking on that growth mentality, you can look at those daily milestones and say, okay, like, I was able to hit this one milestone, but I missed these other 3. What did I do? What did I not do? Or what do I need to work on? Instead of going, man, God, I'm such an idiot. I'm such a failure. I don't ever get anything done. You say, okay, I got this one thing done, or I got closer to finishing this one thing, or maybe I didn't do anything at all. And so what do I need to do? Well, I need to look at why I didn't do anything at all today, and just instead of looking at it as a failure, you look at it as an opportunity to learn something about yourself that day, that instance, and move forward, and that's so huge. It's something that when we circle back after this podcast, we're going to circle back to mindset and really trying to work on. I've been hearing people talk about mindset now quite a bit lately. And to me, it's amazing because I've been on this mindset game for a long time, and that I didn't know anything about Carol Dweck. I had no idea that I was even doing this. I just knew that if I focused on what I wanted to happen and didn't focus on what I did not want to happen. So let me repeat that. I focused on what I wanted to happen in my life. I didn't focus on all the things that I didn't want to happen. I didn't even consider the things that I didn't want to go wrong. So instead of saying, oh man, I hope that I don't fail when I get to Little Rock Central High School, or I hope that I don't fail whenever I get to Israel, or I hope I don't fail whenever I get to Saudi Arabia, and I hope I don't die somewhere. I said, I am going to go out and conquer whatever is going to happen at Little Rock Central. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to do my best. When I get to the Middle East, I am going to go through, I'm going to be as open and looking for, I'm going to be looking for, all the opportunities that I can. So having that growth mindset opposed to a fixed mindset is absolutely critical. And that's something that we're going to get into deeper later on, because once you start looking at things, and instead of looking at things from a failure perspective and looking at them from a growth perspective, once you start doing that, you start seeing that things are, the opportunities and possibilities are limitless. They're absolutely limitless, but you have to make that transition. And it happens every day. That's another thing. None of this no light just turns on and you're done. You're working on every one of these steps every day. But if you take them in very small increments, what we call micro habits, if you take them in create micro habits around your intentions, things start, it's like compounding interest. things start compiling and successes start compiling. And so this system and this framework that we've created just allows you to take small steps over a course of time. And before you know it, you look back and you've got this massive success history going on. You're like, wow, I can't believe I just did all of that. That's amazing. And you just keep going. Yeah, it's really, really, really powerful stuff. Great question, man.
Do you think it is possible to achieve or to break the pattern if you're like a couch potato or without any athletic effort? Like the way I see, I guess I'm asking this. This is interesting to me because I don't see how it's possible unless you prove that those little things like that you can do some little athletic thing. To me, it almost proves to myself that I can keep my I don't know. I'm just wondering if it's possible to if nothing else, substitute that for something else. Or what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not going to say that it isn't impossible, right? I'm not going to say that at all. What I can say from my personal experience and from the experience of folks around me who I've seen accomplish amazing things in life, there is a physical element that just seems inherently to go with this, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean going out and conquering a marathon at all. To me, not even close. I think it's personal to each person. It's subjective to each person and personal to everyone. I don't know that that you cannot pay attention to your physical health and accomplish all of your. I will say that I don't think that paying no attention to your physical health will allow you to accomplish all of your potential. Right? I think that it's very important to try to stay healthy physically because it absolutely affects your mental. And so,
I think there's something about pushing yourself to the limit and to. You're putting everything that you have and push that something about that I think inherently helps with your psyche or with your if nothing else you run off your frustration.
Absolutely. Well, and that's a great point. So one of the things, and you and I kind of know this because we've actually built this framework out. We are definitely going to incorporate physical components into this growth mechanism, right? Because we do believe in it. So, but we're not going to tell you as a listener, as a person, involved in this, to go out and try to run a marathon, because that's not what it's about. It's about taking really, really small steps over the course of time. We studied centenarians, right? People that live to be 100. I've done a lot of blue zone studying lately. And these are people that are living to be over 100 years old. They're not going out and running marathons. They do daily activities, just normal daily activities, and they surround themselves with the right people, the right environments, and they live to be in great shape to be over 100 years old. So, and these are people, would you argue that those people have lived to their potential? I wouldn't. If you live to be 100 years old, I think you've done a pretty amazing thing, right? So it's not necessarily about going out and conquering Everest. But there is a physical component. I don't believe you can be at the height of your performance and the height of your potential. I don't believe you can reach your potential without including a regimen of physical activities. And again, it doesn't have to be huge, just something that allows you to take a small step, have a success, take another small step, have a success. And
I see that mirrored so much in what in what this breaking the pattern process is, that's something that interested me, and I wanted to throw that on you.
And just to reel that back, so folks, breaking the pattern came from a business that we built, and the business we built is called Alpha Wave, and it is a search engine optimization company. We help other companies and other businesses dominate Google search. So if you're a plumber and you're trying to be at the top of search for plumbing in your area, we help you do that. We primarily focus on medical because we want to help patients get the information that they need as soon as possible. But in building this business, you and I realized, man, we have to optimize ourselves before we can make this business truly successful. we're going to have to get right ourselves, physically and mentally. So we started our journey. And from that, it's like, man, this is amazing stuff, right? Like, that's where this all comes from, is from literally from our experience and what we learned, what we've read, what we, the people we've talked to, the people we've been influenced by, seeing that, wow, to really reach our potential, we need to work on optimizing ourselves. So that's where breaking the pattern came from. And that's where our journey, is taking us. This is a quest to help folks, really, really reach their potential. And it only came from us, actually taking that step and trying to build a business, right? So it's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you have the most faith in?
What do I have? Oh man, you know what I've got the most faith in? I've got the most faith in humanity. I think we can do it, man. I think humanity's got this. And just to go back, and this is my own little, this is my plug for operators. I have unbelievable faith in operators. So we're going, if you're listening to this sometime in the future, right now we're going through a thing called COVID-19. And this is a pandemic that occurred. I'm sure you're gonna have read about it. If you're not seeing this right now, or if you're seeing this right now, you know exactly where we are. One of the things that I have found in this throughout this pandemic is, you look at the folks, I think they're called essential, we're calling them essential workers, right? Those are operators to me. Essential workers are operators out there getting things done. They're delivering mail. They're getting electricity plugged in. They're making sure the utilities still work. They're making sure that all the infrastructure of our United States, of the world, essentially, they're making sure that the infrastructure of the world continues to go on. I have absolute faith. I'll go back to that idea. I believe that operators can save the world, and I have absolute faith in human ability to go out and optimize ourselves. That's why I'm super passionate about this. That's why we started Breaking the Pattern, because I think that everybody should be able to feel this and experience this sort of optimized ability to accomplish goals, set goals and accomplish them. Yeah. So I'm putting mine on humanity, dude. I'm putting my faith on humanity.
What's the most important idea you want the audience to leave this podcast with?
Yeah, great question. So if my big thing would be to not give up. Not give up. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your hopes. Don't give up on your aspirations. Set goals and learn how to organize a framework around those goals so you can take steps to meet them. You do that, and you're going to see potential, and you're going to accomplish things that you've never been able to accomplish, you've never thought was possible. So, if I could leave anybody with one thing, if you're only going to listen to me one time, don't give up. Set your goals and learn how to create the micro habits around the steps that are going to allow you to meet those goals. And stay tuned, because we're going to help you do that. Our whole goal here is to help you do that.
And this wraps up the Breaking the Pattern podcast with your hosts, Cody and Peyton.
Thank you for joining us, guys.
And now cueing outro music.
Cue the outro music. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day.
I can do anything I want, everything I can. Some things you won't. I can do anything, and I'ma do it till it's right. If time allows, I'ma do that ish twice. I can do anything. I'ma do it. Bet on everything. Watch me prove it. Dream it, believe it, achieve it, be it. The motto, the slogan, the recipe is secret.
Be great, be strong, see fate, live long, be right, be wrong. Travel out to Hong Kong, set dates, we bomb, feel hate, be calm, take life, give bomb. See ya, man, I'm long gone, and I won't holler till sometime next year. I put my trophies on the wall, hunt the wild, no fear. Had to tell them about my life, so I wrote them all a novel. Keep your mind bright, anything's possible. I wake up and conquer, catch river monsters, I go bonkers. I get the team sponsored, I break beats down, bring the streets around, stand on level ground. My soul is heaven bound. I talk to governors, I fell in love with her, she can be my
goals, I'ma hit that. I just keep on going with my plight, I don't quit that. It's a fact, go back to school, get my master's degree. Nobody gonna reach the top faster than me. Hot coals on my feet, I don't stand still. I can turn Mount Everest to an anthill. I eliminate the waste like a landfill. And no, I won't remember it, but my fans will. I could build a house on a green acre, or learn to fly, still I'm grounded like a teenager. You see it's all in the action, self-motivation, law of attraction, balling and maxing and causing it to happen.